So we're going to have a look at a quick demo, or maybe a bit longer than a quick demo, to demonstrate how to test an MVC app. This one's going to be called SomethingMVC, and we've got it here on session 15. We're going to need to download the SomethingMVC code, which is made up of 3 files. Just download that, and I've got this one open here. So the SomethingMVC, so I'm going to present an MVC example that takes data submitted from a form and redisplays it as a value on a form field. So this is kind of similar to what you did in the very first class, except this time we're putting MVC around it, and we're going to look at the complexities of debugging this MVC app. So there are 3 things in the app, as usual: model, view, controller. So we have something view, which is using a classical procedural PHP web page with HTML on it. We've got the something model, which is expressed as a PHP class that keeps data, the data value using session management session. And we have a something controller that deals with the requests from the something view. In addition to that, we also have a router that's been used throughout to route, I should say, requests to the controller from any page. So the first thing to do is to take your downloaded MVC templates, and we're running this on our class installation XAMPP, and I've used the Explorer here on the XAMPP control panel. I've checked that my Apache is running and my MySQL is running. And I've got a folder on the XAMPP in its htdocs, it's the hypertext docs area, called Web 2018. And I'm going to make a new folder. I'm going to call it something. Like that. And I'm just going to pop. Now, ideally, we should also have inside something, we should also have a router. So I've kept a copy into this thing I've called router template. So I'm going to put that router, which is the same one we've had throughout class. So you can get a copy of this from the examples from class. Now, conveniently, this is going to be a folder. I'm going to use brackets to edit the app that we're developing. Now, just an intermediate period, I'm just going to chuck these in here. Now, these are scripts that implement model, view, and controller. And in the tidiest app, we should have a folder for each of those types of scripts. So I'm going to make a folder for model, and I'm also going to make a folder for view, and then I'm going to make a folder for controller. And each of these are now going to live in the appropriate folder. Okay, I'll just check I've got now. Okay, so I'm going to use brackets to open that up. Use brackets, and then opens it as a project. Hopefully, there we go. And we'll notice, first of all, let's just notice that we've got our controller, and it's pretty much the same as every other time we've used it. We're checking to see if there's a request using CTR for controller, and by default at the moment the controller is going to something called nav controller in the controller folder. But of course this is a something exercise or something app, so we're going to change nav to something. That's going to be our default website. There we go. And any other requests go to whatever controller has been provided or is required. In this example, in this exercise, we only had one controller, one model, one view. Okay, so first of all, we're going to look at how we test things. We're going to start by looking at the model. Here's our model. So the model's made up of a classic PHP class, and because it's a classic PHP class, it's okay, we don't have a constructor in here, I think. Let me just check if there's any constructor. So that doesn't need to have a constructor written for it. And what it does is it's got some methods. Using the session management system, it sets a value by storing the value into a session variable called something. Using the session management system, it gets a value from a session variable called something if that's been set. Otherwise, it returns whatever was the default, which in this case happens to be an empty string. And this is checking to see if the session variable something was stored, and if it isn't, it unsets it, and that will allow us to forget things. Okay, so I need to make sure this works. And in order to check that works, I'm going to create some code at the bottom of the screen. Make an instance of my something model and store it in a something. And to start with, we're getting a value, but then we want to set the value and then echo that value back out again. So and we're going to use the PHP, the really interesting PHP mechanism or variant of concatenation, which is the dot. And I'm going to use that value there, something value. So this perhaps should be called get value. I'm going to leave it as value for now. Yeah, and we're going to pop that back into here. So that then makes a something. It's got its value as it was. It's setting the value, and we should get a value back out again. So now I need to test this. This script can be tested as it is by running it. But how do I run it? So I need to go into the localhost. Here, if I type localhost, and I've got Web 2008. The website I'm dealing with is something, and the place I'm going into is the model, and there's the something model. So I'm going to test it by running that. So at the moment I got test value is Todd4, next value is a value. So at some point I've already stored Todd4. If I refresh that, my current value is a value and my next value is a value, which is correct as far as this is concerned. So I stored, if we look over here, I stored the value here. I stored the value here with set value. Okay. So the next part I want to do is see if it forgets the value. So I'm going to include forget, and I just run that now. And I should start off with a value. We'll see what happens. Let's see. Have I not saved that? Save. Okay. Now, oops, I've typed something wrong. Number 37. Oh, we don't need the word echo. Just something get. Right, now we run that again. A something. And 37. Oh, I'm missing a semicolon here. There we go. Right. There we go. All right, so we go again. And now we've got no values. So it forgets the values, and then it gets, so that's the value that we just stored, and that's the one that's been stored in between time. I could probably put a little bit of a, let me see, let me put a little yarn here, and we'll see that a bit more tidily. Right, so the value is a value, but it doesn't remember its value. So comment that back out again. it shouldn't forget its value. So we start off with, get it back there, a value is a value and the next value is a value. And that's, to me, that looks like it's working, so I'm feeling fairly happy about that. I'm going to comment that out. My model seems to be working. So the next part I want to look at is to see perhaps if my, let's see if I can see if the view works. So I've got my view here. If I want to test the view, I've got to test it in the view folder. And I'll notice here that view's got a require once for the model. However, that's not going to find the right path because it's not looking in the right place. Now, at the moment, if I test the view, that means the view's inside the view folder. So I think if I get the slashes around the right way, which I probably won't, so if I go like that, that goes up and then back down into model. That should find me the something model. So I'm going to test that first. I've got, I just want to get the view, and the view is going to get me the model, and the model's going to show me, what's the model going to show me? Let's have a quick look. The model's going to try to put the value, here we go, the value from the model into the field called something. So getting something, and then it's displaying something, and then the value is being put into the value of the form in a field called something. Right. So in order to test that, I have to go into the view folder, and then I need to try the view model. Now this might not work the first time because I always get my slashes wrong and all my paths wrong. Oops, I've done something wrong. Something, oh, it's not got a view model, it's got a something view. View. There we go. Oh, it's looking kind of good, and it's remembered a value, which is interesting. I would have thought I'd forgotten that. Oh no, I took the forget off. So at the moment, this works, sort of works, looks like it would work, but hold on a minute. My action, if I look at the action's going to the wrong place, going to something controller. Well, ideally, this should actually go to the router, and then the router should go to the controller, and then the controller should bring us back to the view. So this is not correct at the moment. So if I go like this, I suspect that this should be question mark controller equals controller PHP, perhaps. Let me just double check that I'm getting that right. No, I just need to go something controller. Now the problem with that is nothing except that it's still running inside here. So in order to get it to go up to the right level, we have to go up to the right level. So maybe we can get away with that. I'm not entirely sure about that. I might have that. That might be like that. Let's see. That might not work as an action from here. We'll just see. Okay, let's try it. So first of all, that should work as it did. Okay, now when I send something, it should send something. We'll call that B value. Okay, B value. Okay, so I've got a typo here, and it's to do with the slash. The slash is acting as an escape, I think. So I'll do a slash for an escape string. Okay, so I'll refresh that. Continue. Still got a typo. Yeah, it's on line 12. It says line 12. Yeah, maybe it's up here then. Let's just chill out because that works fine. It comes down here and says there's an error. it's on index, on line 12 of the index. Oh, okay. So actually that was okay. We need to go to the index. Aha, there's something wrong with that. And the problem is you've got to have 2 slashes if you want to do that. Okay, so now let's go back to our something view, do a little bit of a go at that. Oh, it's got even worse now. So I've got something wrong inside my something controller as well. It says it can't find something in the something controller. Well, I can tell that we're looking for something model and we don't have a path to it. So we'll leave that alone at the moment, because that something view looks like it's doing something. If I just go straight on to back to the something view, something view, that looks very good. The problem is the controller now. All right, so let's have a look at the controller. First of all, these need to be the right path, so I think that should be model / like that. And that looks about right. So how do I test that this is working? Okay, so how do I test that this is working? I know the route is working because it went back round through to there. So all I need to do is check that this is actually producing the right output, and we can do that through here. So I'm going to put in a little bit of a test. So instead of doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to test if I've got a model, and I'm going to go $a model value to get our value, and that value is going to be output echo the is that. And hopefully, if I've done the right command on this, it should work. Okay, so how do I test this? Well, first of all, I'm going to try testing it right down there in the controller, in which case this has to go up, label, and back down into the model. And I'm going to run the controller directly. And what it does is it makes itself a new something controller. And then when it comes through here, aha, I've got a old-fashioned style constructor, so I'm going to construct. And when it comes back through into here, it checks if we've got a command, and the command has to be send something, and there has to be a request also called something. So in order to test the controller, I go here, type in controller. I've got send something controller. Now the send something controller needs to have a to test it, I need to go and give it a request, which is command, and command is equal to, I'm going to copy that, send something, make that a bit bigger so we can see it. And then we have another one after that, which is we not only do we need the command, but we also need to have, let's have a look and see what we're looking for. We're looking for something called something as well that's been sent to the controller. We've got a command called send something, and we've got a, what's that called, a something. And something has to be given a value as well. So we're going to go dot, and hopefully we should get a value back which is the same as the something. Hopefully, let's test that. Oh, lost it. Go back, retype it. Controller, something controller, controller, question mark, and the name was command. The command is send something, and the other thing is a something, and its value is should its value be? Its value should be, doesn't matter what it is, so I'm going to say dot. The model is Todd. Now that's wonderful, because what's happened is it's gone through this whole thing here and found that the model is Todd. Now, if this did not have that, if we're missing, say, that part, then we should get an error, and we do, and that's what we're expecting. So that's now, I'm fairly happy with that working there. However, I'm fairly unhappy with this here, so I'm going to take that back out again, and I'm going to put my test code away, and put my view back in, and now I should be able to test the whole thing. So I'm going to test the whole thing by going back up, and I'm sure we'll find errors and there'll be problems with these in particular. So command something. Now the something by default has a router, which is that one, and it should just go straight in. All right, so we've got some problems here. In something controller, it says it can't find something view. Well, that's because that's in the wrong place. So I'm going to go view / something view, and we'll try that again, one bug at a time. So now we've got a warning there about sessions starting in something model, and we got something wrong with something view on line 6. Something view on line 6. Yep, it's got these in the wrong way, so I'm going to bring that back to model. These slashes might be on the wrong way, so I'll try that. Okay, now we've only got, the only problem we've got now is that the session has already been started, and that's been told us on something model on line 3. So just to check that, oops, what I want to do is make sure that when we get into the something model, although we need to put in the session start, we don't want to be told about it all the time. So if we go back to our code, hopefully. No, it's up there. Oh, there's our code. So PHP has a thing called error reporting. So if we add a call to error reporting, that it's going to give me everything, except I don't need the notices because I know that it's being called twice, and it doesn't make any difference. It just means that my system's a little bit easier to test. So now I go back to here, I should get no notices, and now I should be able to store things. So I store to, oh, there's something wrong with that. So what's happened here? Something's gone wrong with the view, I think. And yes, there's something wrong with the view. So the action isn't to go up from here. The action inside the view should just be that. Let's do that again. So we got our Todd, Todd 3, and I send it, and we're getting there. Now remember what we sent. And that's the story. Okay. That's how we test a model view controller app as we're developing it. Where is that?